Good afternoon, and thank all of you for joining us. Joining me today is Chris Van Gorder, President and CEO of SCRIPPS Health, as well as Jane Finley, who's the Senior Vice President and Regional Manager of KAISER PERMANENTE, and Patrick Stewart, who is President and CEO of the San Diego Public Library Foundation. Earlier today, the County of San Diego reported 1,628 total positive cases related to COVID-19. 98 more cases than reported yesterday. This includes 4 new countywide deaths. 22,098 tests have been conducted thus far, and of the testing being done, about 93% are coming back negative for COVID-19. What we continue to hear from our healthcare professionals is that this virus affects everyone, especially those with underlying health conditions. The 40 total deaths countywide represents a stark reminder for all of us, now is not the time to get complacent. We have to continue, and we will continue, our current posture. We have to continue to stay at home in order to be safe. If we continue to do this, and we are, I am very confident that we'll be able to return to normalcy, quote unquote, much faster, and getting back to opening up our economy. So let's continue to work together. Let's not get complacent. Let's stay at home and let's stay safe. Today I'm going to provide an update on the following items. First, a very unique plan that we have devised to help protect San Diego's healthcare workers. Second, the latest on Operation Shelter to Home. And third, an update on equipment and supply donations. And lastly, highlighting San Diegans that are stepping up across our city in this great time of need. Creativity, ingenuity, innovation, it's part of who we are at San Diego. It's in our DNA. And I am convinced, as we have talked about earlier in these briefings, that our city, San Diego, will play a key role in the development of both therapeutics to combat this virus and vaccines that will get us on the other side of COVID-19. But of course, you don't have to be a scientist to help save lives during this crisis. Every single San Diegan is finding their own way to make a difference. And today I'm really proud and excited to announce a partnership that shows the best of our city employees and our local educators and San Diego's hospitals. Our doctors, our nurses, and hospital staff are in constant need of personal protective equipment, PPE. So I'm sure everybody knows that by now. That equipment, of course, keeps them safe so they can keep us safe and their patients safe. Our community cannot afford to have our medical staff compromised. So last week, I signed an executive order that made additional city property and resources available to fight COVID-19. And that order specifically included our libraries. And since then, a very unique partnership, very unique, cool, between San Diego libraries and our hospitals has been put into action. It is a partnership that is going to protect hundreds of our brave doctors, nurses, and healthcare workers. Like so many ideas, this idea started in a classroom. A science teacher at Francis Parker School in Linda Vista knew the mother of a former student who worked for SCRIPPS Health. This teacher, Denver Guess, saw the promise of 3D printers and how they could be used to create protective face shields. So Denver talked to the supply chain manager at SCRIPPS and reached out to others who had 3D printers. This included fellow educators at the Bishop School, as well as the San Diego Public Library. And at the same time, on the other side of the country, Georgia Tech was creating schematics for manufacturing face shields. Their story was recently featured in the New York Times. And Georgia Tech shared their design with the public. Both of these designs made their way to the Idea Labs in one of our libraries. And we started these Idea Labs and invested in 3D printers and laser cutters several years ago. And it's clearly paying off. Our library staff started working directly with both SCRIPPS and KAISER PERMANENTE. And now, San Diego's Central Library today is producing face shields for both hospital systems. This is just one of the face shields made at the Central Library. As you can see, really ingenuity. And right here happening, it's a good example of the 3D printers that are active and going on right now at our public library, at our downtown central library. These face shields are very important. They provide an additional barrier to keep medical staff safe while they are on the front lines. It takes an average of about 2 hours to print using materials that cost about $2.50. That's about 50% below the market price where you can find them. And as we speak, there are 12 3D printers at the Central Library. And those printers have the capacity to make about 50 face shields a day and about 300 a week. They're going to go directly to San Diego hospitals. A lot of San Diegans have come together to make this a reality. And the best part is that we are providing these face shields for free to the hospitals, free to our frontline hospital providers that are making a difference for us. And this would not be possible without the very generous support of the San Diego Public Library Foundation. They have pledged to fund this project, including the materials that we need to make this gear. The foundation has also committed to purchasing 3 more high-volume 3D printers. So Francis Parker School, Bishop School, SCRIPPS, KAISER, PERMANENTE, our library staff, our library foundation, to all of you I say thank you. Look, incredible San Diego ingenuity, so very, very quickly, that took this idea, and these face shields are now being printed. This is going to help our first responders. This partnership is going to save lives, truly. And now I'd like to introduce, as I said, some of the real stars of the show, and I begin with Chris Van Gorder with Scripps Health to say a few words. Chris, come on up.
Thank you, Mayor, very, very much. It's amazing our community's innovation, its ingenuity, and its collaboration in times of great stress like this. And so I'm so pleased to be able to actually show you one of the very first face shields that we were able to receive, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about how that happened. Scripps became involved in this effort after a Scripps physician, Dr. Jenny Davis, introduced us to Mr. Denver Guess, Science Department Chair at Francis Parker School. Mr. Guess had reached out to us with a proposal of helping us meet our needs for face shields through the use of 3D printing. By the way, these are almost impossible to get right now. We have trouble with certainly masks, isolation gowns, even booties these days, but we were having an almost impossible time getting face shields for our providers. The Bishop School joined the effort, and we've been working closely with Jennifer Seymour, the upper school mathematics teacher there, Natalie Gans, the Director of Advancements from the San Diego Public Library Foundation, reached out to us to let us know that the city libraries could help with 3D printing. And Qualcomm offered to support the 3D printing of certain key parts to provide the resources needed in short order. Since those beginnings, we fine-tuned things a bit, and we now are using a divide-and-conquer approach to this. The schools have produced for us a 3D prototype visors for the shields, and Scripps is working with the manufacturer to produce the shields that fit onto those visors. Earlier this week, the quality assessment by our clinicians was completed, and we were able to give the go-ahead to the schools and libraries to begin productions of the visors. Each 3D printer should be able to produce between 3 to 12 visors each day, and even more than that, I think. I wanted to recognize Jose Loya and Steve Johnson from the supply chain at Scripps for all of their work on this, and on behalf of the entire Scripps family, our heartfelt gratitude to Francis Parker School, the Bishop School, and the San Diego libraries. By working together, we will keep our doctors, nurses, and others on the front line safe so they can be there to care for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chris. Next up, I'd like to invite Jane Finley with KAISER Permanente also to say a few words. And Jane, thank you to you and everybody at KAISER for the phenomenal job you're doing for our city.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much. I have to wait a minute till my glasses unfog, right? So thank you, Mayor Faulkner, for inviting me today to say a few words and offer my thank you to the community for responding to these very demanding circumstances with innovation and support for our exceptional healthcare workers. You know, I'm very proud to represent KAISER Permanente San Diego and our 9,600 employees and 1,400 physicians who are serving San Diegans every day during this crisis and who will continue to serve through the recovery period that we anticipate, we hope sooner than later. A wonderful example of the groundswell of support for our health system is what we see here today with the 3D printing. We've been fortunate to receive donations, headbands, as Chris pointed out, and face shields that have been 3D printed. Students from San Diego area schools, Cambridge, Bishops, Westview, Valhalla High Schools have put real-time community need and innovation together to serve a higher purpose. And these face shields actually provide protection, and they also extend the life of critical PPE during this pandemic. We'd also like to thank a San Diego company based here in Sorrento Valley, INSEP 3D, who contacted us early to offer their 3D production services. So along with the student donations and with the INSEP 3D, we've increased our supply by 500 face shields. And as Chris said, it's super needed, and it actually saves lives. I would be remiss in not taking a moment to say thank you, Mayor, for the partnership with the city, and also extend our deep appreciation for the first responders in our community for their incredible work. I also want to extend my great thanks to all the residents in the San Diego community for stepping up and following the public health guidelines. It really matters on those frontline caregivers to see everybody in the community pulling their weight, and it helps them care for others. And finally, I would just like to say, be well and thrive at home. Thank you. Thank you.
Well said, Jane. Thank you so much. And next, I'd like to invite Patrick Stewart with the San Diego Public Library Foundation. Patrick, thank you for all the help, and our city librarians and just everybody with the foundation really stepping up.
Thank you. Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the mayor, his staff, and the city of San Diego for their very thoughtful leadership through this very difficult moment. The San Diego Public Library Foundation is honored to help facilitate this partnership among SCRIPPS, KAISER Permanente, the Francis Parker School, and our library director, Misty Jones's incredibly talented staff. And with support from the Library Foundation donors, we're proud to fund the additional 3D printers and the materials that are needed to ensure that the 50 PPEs are made each day and reach San Diego healthcare workers. This project is just one example of how our libraries and librarians are an essential part of our community's infrastructure. Now more than ever, library e-resources are an essential lifeline for families schooling at home. We're so honored to be able to fund and support the expansion of that effort, ensuring broad access to educational tools. I want to thank all of our partners who funded and equipped the Idea Labs at Central Library, at Joan and Irwin Jacobs Common, and other branch locations, including the Legler-Benbow and Copley Foundations. Thank you also to our technology funding partners for their support on this project. They and so many other supporters are an essential part of this creative partnership, helping to ensure that hospital workers have the safety tools necessary to do the great work that they do, supporting all of us at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. What a great partnership that we've seen. Ingenuity, innovation, really quickly helping those on the front lines of our healthcare system. Next, I'd like to take just a moment to provide an update on Operation Shelter to Home. Over the last few days, we have moved the final groups of sheltered clients from their current shelters to the convention center, again, to allow for the greater and proper physical distancing. This morning, there were approximately 762 individuals among the 3 providers, including the residents that were initially moved from Golden Hall following our announcement of this move. We opened the lower level of Golden Hall at a time when we didn't know how long it would take to get the convention center up and running. And a strong thanks to all of the team that worked tirelessly, literally day and night, to make that happen. And I will tell you, having the convention center open is incredibly important because a lot of our service providers have experienced greater impacts to their staffing levels than they expected just a couple weeks ago. And it really became apparent that the convention center was going to be needed to have everybody there in one spot. It has allowed us to consolidate the resources available to those that are experiencing homelessness in San Diego, and we're looking forward to beginning the process of welcoming those that are still struggling on the streets in the coming days to open it up to those unsheltered. Next, I'd like to provide an update on equipment and supplies. I know that a lot of San Diegans, because we get phone calls and emails, really want to say, what can I do? What can I do to help? And you've been looking for the best way to do it. So we have launched a new website at the city where you can contribute extra items that you may have. And the website is sandiego.gov/donate. Got a lot of businesses that have said, how can I help, Mr. Mayor? Some of the items that can be donated include surgical and N95 masks, handmade masks, gloves, goggles and face shields, hand sanitizer, cases of bottled water, alcohol wipes, just to name a few. We appreciate every resident and business that continues to help and wants to donate. This is how we're going to get through this as a community. This spirit of ours is how we do it. Again, that website is sandiego.gov/donate. And before I conclude for questions, I'd like to highlight, as I do each day, San Diegans who are stepping up all across our city. We are grateful to see so many San Diegans really adapting their daily routines to follow the stay-at-home directive. We know it is not easy. You are doing your part. You are stepping up to flatten the curve of COVID-19. One person that deserves particular recognition is Cappy, who works as an instructor for the La Jolla YMCA. Cappy teaches dance, yoga, and strength training classes to senior citizens each morning. In fact, the performance of her line dancing classes were so good that they perform every year at the county fair. They love the classes, the seniors love the classes, because of course it keeps them active, healthy, and I think probably most important, socially connected. All of that stopped when the YMCA had to close because of COVID-19. That didn't sit well with instructor Cappy, so she took her classes online, free of charge, to keep her senior workout club connected and healthy. And at the beginning of each class, Cappy takes a moment just to check in, to see how everybody is holding up, or if anybody needs help, and then opens it up for a brief discussion before starting her class for her seniors. So these seniors still get to engage socially, and they get to get their workouts in, all while staying at home and staying safe. Thank you, Cappy, for stepping up and helping to keep our community healthy, happy, and connected. And thank you for reminding all of us to stay active while staying at home. So if you see a San Diegan stepping up, please share it with us with the hashtag San Diego Steps Up. We will get through this, and we will get through this with all of us as San Diegans working together. And with that, I will pause and answer any questions on today's briefing for members of the media.
So, Guillermo Mendez with Univision. He mentioned it's nearly impossible, just kind of wanted to see if you can elaborate a little bit as to why has it been nearly impossible to get these face shields right now in the market.
Sure, I'll have Chris elaborate on that. Chris, go ahead.
A lot of the supplies actually are manufactured in China and other places, so certainly the raw materials and the supplies didn't get to the United States. And because the concern around COVID-19, we go through these face shields very, very, very quickly. Some of them can be cleaned, most of them can be used once and they have to be thrown out again. So they're just not getting produced. So it's a matter of lack of material, lack of places where we can buy them. Some of the use of some of our equipment's gone up 250 to 400% of its normal use. In combination of all of those, we can't get them.
Cool, thank you. Okay. Now, Mayor, is the city doing any other, I mean, I know this is great. It's a great effort for healthcare workers. I mean, I know they're the real heroes right now in this pandemic.
I agree.
So is the city doing any other efforts to provide more PPE for them?
Yeah, this is the one that really is first and foremost on, as Chris and Jane just had mentioned. These are needed right now, today, tonight, this weekend. And thanks to the generosity of the Library Foundation, free of charge. So you just heard some of the markups that they're dealing with and trying to get other equipment. I think one of the great things about our region, city, county, all of our hospitals who are in constant contact, all of the work we are doing on purchasing supplies, combining that, getting ahead where we can on masks, N95 masks as an example, I think that speaks very well. We are continuing to prepare. We're not quite sure what that is going to look like, but all of the preparation has been incredibly important, and that sharing of supplies, so you don't just have an individual system, you have everybody working together. That is a true hallmark of, I think this region should be very proud of.
Right, cool, thank you. Are these already available for healthcare workers, or are they going to be available?
All hospital healthcare workers, absolutely. And with the additional printers that are going to be given, we're going to be able to even produce more and more and more. And again, what a just a great idea that came out of a local classroom here.
Perfect.
San Diegans stepping up, doing it, our librarian staff making it. This went from idea to manufacture in, I don't know, like 7 days. So it's, I'm just so proud. And we're going to keep highlighting great examples of this in the coming days.
Great, thank you.
There are no other questions. That will conclude today's briefing. Thank all of you. Stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow.